the Ron and Brian podcast. Get ready to fill your ears with the latest news, politics, current events, and whatever else we feel like talking about this week. And now, your hosts, Ron and Brian.
And good evening, everybody. It is once again Sunday night. It is 8 o'clock, and it is time for episode 243 of the Ron and Brian podcast. Brian, my good friend, how are you tonight, sir?
Well, I'm doing great, Ron. I'm doing splendid. It is Sunday. It is the first Sunday in February. I feel somewhat a hole in my existence as we are not going to be doing a pajama party later on during After Dark, which is strictly for our Patreon paying friends, members, whatnot. However, we will be doing an After Dark. Lots of good stories that are not quite ready for the podcast. But before, I jump into the After Dark, we've got at least 58 minutes in addition to what you've already seen of high quality entertainment. People, as you can see, Ron has added, in his last week as champion of the podcast, Ron has added to his title card, I guess you want to call it, in the lower left-hand corner on his side of the screen. It says the champ. You can see the championship belt
right there in the background.
6 pounds of gold right over his shoulder. As you can see, he's added, which, I feel, is just tempting me with a slice of optimism. 49% owner for 7 more days, at which point a week from today is Super Bowl 143. It will be the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Later on in this episode, we will be discussing our annual Super Bowl bet. We've been doing it for about 23 years now.
Roughly.
Stakes are high, people. We will be talking about it. Ron, how are you doing?
I am good, Brian. I'm excited. As you mentioned, we are coming up on Super Bowl Sunday, just 1 week today. I am excited for that. But most of all, I'm excited for this episode. We have a ton of stories and content to get to. So I say, let's get right into it with Drink of the Week.
Drink of the Week.
Na zdrowie.
Salud. Drink of the Week. Friendship.
Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the week.
Brian, I don't know if you've noticed, Matt finally fixed the sound effects so that they don't cut off in the beginning. So one of his last acts of work prior to the nasty jetpack accident that you may have seen on our Instagram and Facebook page. We were planning on having a moment of silence at the end of the show. However, none of us know how to mute the music in the closing credits. But just know in our hearts, we will be silent for you, Matt. But more importantly, Brian, than Matt's healing, what are you drinking this week?
Ooh, I'm so glad you asked that question, Ron, because one of the things I've been jealous of is, your plethora of high quality PA based breweries. And I said to myself, you know what? And instead of going with, a national brand or an international brand, I like to go global.
Sure.
They call me Mr. Worldwide for a reason. And one of the things that I decided this week to do was roll it back, bring it back to the 212-718. I went all the way up to the Bronx, and I'm bringing you Bronx Brewery's City Island Sour. And what is City Island Sour, you're going to ask yourself?
Good question.
Named after a Bronx summertime destination for sunshine and seafood, City Island Sour IPA came out in August of 2019. Combination of hops and yeast create a unique peachy flavor with zippy hints of lemon and lime. A puckery, tongue-tingly, and tart brew. City Island is floral on the nose. I don't know about floral, but it makes us think of sour peach rings when we take a sip, coming in at an even 6.00 ABV. Brian's Drink of the Week, City Island Sour IPA.
A sour IPA. Interesting. I am a fan of a sour, not puckering up too much. How sour is it, actually?
It's actually beyond sour. It's bitter.
Hmm.
And this actually tastes just like I am drinking grapefruit juice.
Interesting. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, you're taking another sip, so it can't be horrible.
Well, now I know what I'm expecting.
Okay.
This thing is sour AF. I don't know that I would try this again.
Fair enough. All right.
Fair enough. Ron,
Yes, sir.
what are you drinking?
So I was traveling this week, staying at one of the hotels that I work for, and they were nice enough, Brian, to leave me a very nice amenity in my room, which included a premium prepackaged cocktail from a company called On the Rocks. I did not have the opportunity to drink it while I was staying there, so I brought it home. This is crafted with Larios imported London dry gin and natural flavors. It's called the Aviation. I believe it's supposed to be very similar to a gin and tonic. 40 proof, 20% alcohol by volume. I mean, it looks very similar to a gin and tonic. I got a nice ice-filled glass right there. So let's see how this pre-made cocktail is.
Which is odd. You're normally not a pre-made kind of guy.
It's not bad. I mean,
Not
in a
bad.
pinch, I'd rather have like you can tell it's not fresh lime juice and things like that. But hey, listen, it's tasty. For a free cocktail, I'll take it.
I was going to say, I think, when you think about the purpose that it serves, you are on the road, you're in
Right.
a hotel, you don't have fresh cut limes, you don't have your favorite gin, or you probably could go down to the bar and get some tonic water. But the idea here is that you can just sit there, crack open that bottle, and you've got yourself a refreshing gin and tonic in your hotel room. The question really is this, Ron: would you buy it?
I don't know that I would.
Okay.
All right. Oh, Guy Bannister joining us again this week, and again he is very locked in on your fashion, Brian, each and every week. Once again, asking what cool shirt Brian is wearing. You've been on a very Ron-centric shirt phase
Have
the
I?
past month or so.
I don't think so.
What
No.
are you wearing today, Brian? Show people your kicks.
Here's my
Ron-
shirt.
Ron made me do it. I'm not
Ron
quite sure
made
why
me do it.
Why is there an accent over the O in Ron?
Because that way it would be pronounced Ron. Ron.
Okay.
Ron made me do it. Yeah, so today's shirt here is Ron made me do it, coming in an extra large. People, this will be on eBay. One of the things that we've been doing this year for charity is I've been putting my shirts up on eBay. We will be sending out the link on social media tomorrow morning at 9:00. The auction will start. Last week's shirt, I believe, went for $857. All the proceeds go to a charity. It's something that we've been doing so far in 2023. Just makes us all feel better, helping the world one shirt at a time. And why are we doing it? Because Ron made me do it.
All right, fair enough. We know what else I'm making you do, Brian. Tell me your beef of the week.
Ron and Brian's Beef of the Week.
Brian, what's bothering you this week?
There were a bunch of things this week that bothered me. There were a bunch of moments when I was annoyed by society as a whole. There were moments where I was let down by my country's leaders. I was let down by the representatives in our government. There were times when my media that provides me with info. All right, I'll just stop now. My beef of the week right now is people who are willing to wait online for things that they should not have to do. Walking the streets of Manhattan yesterday, coldest day of the year, Ron. I don't know if
Freezing
you remember
out.
that.
Freezing
It
out.
was literally freezing out yesterday. And the number of people that I witnessed standing in line outside of a variety of restaurants, bars, coffee shops, and I even saw a line outside of a bakery.
Okay.
And it was just all I could think of was saying to the people waiting on. I mean, we're talking 5:00 in the evening.
Sure.
This isn't This isn't 9 o'clock at night when people are hammered. These are sober people making bad decisions. And I just wanted to sit there and it annoyed the living daylights out of me that these people have so little belief in the value of their time that they're willing to spend 10, 15, 20 minutes to get into a restaurant when you're on the island of Manhattan, and there are literally hundreds of restaurants that you could go to.
Sure. A ton of them. I mean, I would think there's so much available, you don't necessarily need to wait more than 5, 10, 15 minutes.
Correct. There's absolutely no reason for it. And you saw long lines of people to get into shitty places. Very disappointing. And these are people that I consider New Yorkers. Ron.
Okay. Yes, sir.
What's bothering you?
So I guess this is kind of a specific beef, maybe kind of petty. But my beef this week is with families who live on main roadways whose children pick up the school bus in the morning, Brian. Because
this is very specific.
Because I had to drive somewhere in the morning this week, driving on a major roadway, and buses pull up, and like, should the kid not be ready to hop on the bus when the bus is there? Because otherwise, now we're just sitting there waiting for the kid to come out of the house while traffic just backs up in both directions.
And if I'm not correct, it is illegal to drive around the left side of a school bus.
I mean, well, when the red lights are on, it's very much illegal.
Now, my question is, at what point did you roll down your window and start yelling at the kids?
You know, I tried not to, Brian. We try and lift people up here on the Ron and Brian podcast. We try not to tear them down. But that being said, make sure your damn kids are ready when the school bus pulls up. It's just polite, people. It's that social contract we go back and talk about from time to time.
Now, was this in your local area of suburban Pennsylvania, or was this outside? This was, okay.
It was attempting to get to the turnpike, and it took much longer than it needed to.
Now, how do you pronounce turnpike? Is it the same way everybody down there pronounces it?
I mean, turnpike. I just said it.
Okay. I'm not picking up much of an accent right there.
Well, how else can you say turnpike? Like, I get hoagie and woulda, but there's really no O's in turnpike, so.
I would pronounce it as turnpike.
All right. As did I.
Sure.
Hoagie.
Hoagie.
See, that you can stretch out a bit.
Brian, yeah.
Let's dive into some of the stories here, Brian. As longtime listeners of this podcast know, we used to do a segment called This Week in Racism up until a couple of years ago. But we always like to revisit it. I mean, we don't like to, but we have to. Come February when it is Black History Month. Because inevitably, people do stupid things during Black History Month. And they make the news. So this happens to be, Brian, kind of north of you in Nyack Middle School this past week. That middle school is apologizing to parents and family members after serving students with a meal on the first day of Black History Month that was deemed to be culturally insensitive. Apparently, administrators say that the hot lunch menu was changed by their vendor without their knowledge, and the menu included chicken and waffles with a watermelon dessert, which the school's principal called a, quote, unfortunate situation.
That's unnecessary.
So the vendor in question, Aramark, I mean, one of the biggest prepared food providers out there. So kind of surprising that happened. Multiple families expressed outrage over the menu selection. Aramark issued a statement on the matter on Thursday, saying that while it was not intended as a cultural meal, they acknowledged that the timing was inappropriate. They will be partnering with the school to provide sensitivity training for employees who work at the school to make sure their actions align with the district's, quote, vision and commitment to equality-driven work.
That's ugly. Why on earth would they decide that chicken and waffles would be a good idea? The only way I would look past this and sit there and say teachable moment, understood, is if they had ordered from Chef Vargas restaurant in Elkins Park, Pennsylvania. I believe that is considered a suburb of Pennsylvania. I don't believe that it is
Yes,
considered
it
to
is.
be in the city proper. It is considered a suburb, but Chef Vargas does some of the best chicken and waffles that I've ever come across.
Agreed.
So if that is what the school is catering on the first day, I would still say problematic, but I would say understandable.
Now, also this Black History Month, California police shooting and killing a black man. Not normally as newsworthy as it used to be, but this was a double amputee who had apparently stabbed someone and was trying to flee on his stumps. Turned to face the police officer. Officers apparently feared that he was going to throw his knife at them. So, of course, they shot him 8 times.
Wait a second. A double amputee was shot 8 times.
Correct. So 3 cops from Huntington Park Police Department were filmed firing at least 8 shots at Anthony Lowe Jr., a 36-year-old father of 2. His family says that he lost the lower half of his legs recently after another altercation with police, this in Texas.
Hold on.
Yes.
He lost his legs in an altercation with police?
That is what it says. That's what his family says. I haven't seen any additional background information on that as of yet.
Jesus.
But apparently,
That's
the
rough.
suspect allegedly attempted to throw a butcher knife at the officers. They had tried tasing him. That apparently didn't work. So basically, they just surrounded him and opened fire on him.
Did he survive?
No, he died.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Jesus, that's depressing.
So he died actually at the scene. So family is now demanding answers from the police department, and I don't believe they have named the officers as of yet.
Well, I'm sure it wasn't. I'm sure that if there was videotape, we would have a good understanding of what took place.
There's video. It's not great video. It's not the quality of video we normally like to see, but there is a number of different angles of that video that are out there if you wanted to hunt them down and find them.
Is there any police chest cam photos?
They have not released the body cam footage.
Body
as of
cam,
yet.
that's the word I was thinking of. That's a shame.
Chest cam.
Okay.
Maybe it's a competitor product. Whoever makes the body cam, their competitors make the chest cam.
Crotch cam.
Crotch cam. I believe that was your nickname in college, if I remember. After you attempted, for whatever reason, to insert a Polaroid camera into your urethra, all of us told you it was a bad idea. You said, I want to originate something called a dick pic. We didn't know what you were talking about at the time. Who knew that you were 30 years ahead of your time, sir? That's it? You got nothing to say? No,
I have nothing to say. No.
reminiscing?
Listen, college was a crazy time.
That's fair.
I was really, college was about trying things to see if you liked them. Inserting a Polaroid camera up into your urethra, bad idea.
Yeah. In fact, Joe giving us a little example of what that looked like.
Sure.
Very much so. Very much so. I mean, if you maybe get a smaller eggplant. See, it got ugly. It just got ugly.
Sometimes I think that championship belt has gone to your head.
Very
Can we
possible.
address the champ? Can we talk about the Super Bowl bet right now?
Do you want to talk about the Super Bowl bet? Is that what you're saying? You would like to talk about
I
the
believe
Super Bowl
that that's what the people want. People want to know.
Hello?
Hi, can I speak to Champ?
Who?
Champ? Is Champ there?
Who is Champ?
That question will be answered this Sunday night!
Sunday.
See, Matt doesn't need to be here for us to have good production value.
I remember that was Philadelphia. DJs calling a woman?
I forget where it was, but it was one of the greatest prank calls of all time.
His name is John Cena. Yes.
So it has come to this, Brian. Today, actually, the 5-year anniversary of the last time the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl. It was 5 years ago.
Was that Big
today.
Dick Nick?
That was Big Dick Nick. Now it is 2023. We are 1 week away from that football game starting. What is it? 6:30 start time?
I believe so. Yes.
And
that does not, and that includes the famous halftime show, which will be Rihanna, I believe,
this year. Yes.
Yes.
Well, first, you want to talk about the prop bet pool that we're going to be making available to folks out there.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Oh, I thought you were going to.
No, this is your baby. You were motivated today. You whipped things together. I think you need to take a little bit of credit, my friend.
All right. So we are putting together our annual Ron and Brian podcast 2023 Super Bowl proposition bet. We will have a link going out. Will it be after this show, or will we be sending it out tomorrow morning?
Why don't we send it out tomorrow? Give people some time to really... People are really going to have to soak in the Super Bowl bet, so give them some time.
So you've got 25 different items that you'll have to pick. The answers will either be under, over, will be Eagles or Chiefs, yes or no. Some of the examples, the line on the game, which is Eagles 1.5. And you will have to pick whether you think the Eagles are going to cover the bet or whether it will be the Chiefs. We also have the game under, over. How long will the national anthem take? That number keeps going up every year. This year's under, over 125 seconds. Do we know who's singing the national anthem?
I don't. Let me see if I can find that out real quick.
I'm going to say it's Whitney Houston. Also, we'll be doing some of the other ones. Which team will score first? I'm just going to read some random ones. Will either team score in the first 6.5 minutes? Which team will be called for the first penalty? What's the total combined number of sacks in the game? I mean, we've got 25 different items. At the end, they are all count as one point. Correct or no?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, make everything count to people with the most points. What are they going to win, Ron?
I don't know that we've decided a prize yet, so maybe we need to discuss that also.
I think what we do is we do $50 to their favorite charity.
All right, I think that's fair.
And we're both going to go in the pool. So
yes.
I think that if you and I win, I think it should go to whoever comes in behind us.
All right, that makes sense. So just so you know, the national anthem is going to be performed by Grammy award-winning country artist Chris Stapleton. I believe he is the one that does that song Tennessee Whiskey with Justin Timberlake. Is
he related in any way to Gene Stapleton?
I'd have to check also. I'm unfortunately I'm woefully unprepared, but yes. And Babyface is going to do America the Beautiful.
Who's Babyface?
R&B singer Babyface. Come on, man.
From the 80s, 90s?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Nice to see that he's still around.
Yes, very good to see. So
as opposed to Babyface Tarzan Boy from ECW.
I'm not even sure what that means. All right, Brian. Well, as we have said, we are less than 7 days away from the Super Bowl. You see the countdown there. 6 days, 22 hours, 5 minutes, 35 seconds. Brian, we've discussed the wager, and I have been giving this a lot of thought. Obviously, Eagles, very strong season. You look at Jalen Hurts. 16-1, Brian, in his starts this season, averaging almost 30 points a game when he starts. Just looking at all-time statistics, Brian, he has the third most improved season year over year in his first Super Bowl year in NFL history, coming in behind Drew Bledsoe and Joe Burrow. But also, Drew Bledsoe, Joe Burrow, losing those games, it's very tough. I mean, everything should favor the Eagles, but then you have Patrick Mahomes, you've got Travis Kelce. This has been a long, arduous task for me to try and figure this out. But Brian, my pick in the Super Bowl bet to judge who will get the 6 pounds of gold, I'm taking the Philadelphia Eagles minus 1.5 points. What's your thoughts on that, Brian?
Well, I'm a little offended. I'm a little offended. I will respect the 51% owner making a decision. I felt that at some point we were going to be discussing how we were going to determine who gets the Super Bowl pick.
Well, I was discussing that too, and you kept saying, "Ron, I'm just going to give it to you, and then I'm gonna play pretend victim and cry about it a little bit." That was the conversation I recall us having off the air.
I do not believe that conversations we have off the air should be discussed on the air. I don't remember having that specific conversation with you, Ron. I felt that we were going to be spending today figuring out how we were going to be making our Super Bowl bet. I also want the Philadelphia Eagles. I also believe that the Philadelphia Eagles will cover. I believe this is once again your another step towards your slide into fascism. The fact that once again you have just usurped power that was up for discussion.
Listen, I am more than willing to have a discussion about this, Brian. Maybe we can
already made your pick. You've already made your pick, Ron.
And you would like to have that action also. So maybe we can tweak this a little bit. We'll kind of name that, tune it. What line? How many points do you think the Eagles are going to win by?
I think the Eagles will win by 4 points.
By 4 points. Interesting.
I think, listen, you took the Eagles. I will take the Chiefs.
Listen, I would be willing to give you the Eagles -4.
You would be willing to give me the Eagles -4?
I would be willing to give you the Eagles -4 if you feel that's fair.
I think that's fair. Are we locking it in, or do you want to think about it?
I'm going to mull it over, but I think we need to figure out what is equitable.
Equitable? The belt. That's on the line. There's nothing else.
Well, we won't waste too much of everybody's time on this. That's why I told you I wanted to have a contingency plan in place in case we both wanted the same pick.
What is? Oh, look at that, Guy Bannister saying Ron Stalling. Ugh.
Good question from Allie. What's going to happen with next Sunday's podcast? I believe the decision was made. The executive decision was made to do next week's podcast on Monday night, wasn't it?
The following Monday?
The following Monday, I believe you said.
I think it's fine doing the following Monday. I will be home. It will allow me to take in several beverages, and either I will be celebrating my first day as champion, or I will be bemoaning my first day out of 365 that I need to wait again for the pod.
All right, so I'm mulling this over. I don't know how I like 4 if I'm going to give you the Eagles. So I can give you the option.
We agreed. We'll talk. We agree. Let's. Listen. I thought that you were going to be ready for this, but you know what? Let's talk after. Let's talk after.
Well, listen. I'm gonna throw out something at you, and you can kick this around for the next 30 minutes until we finish the podcast. Think about whether you would rather have the Chiefs +1.5 or the Eagles -7.5.
Eagles -7.5.
Right.
No, 7.5. I think is too many points.
All right. Listen, I'm trying to work with you here. So
I'm not sure that you are. I think you're pulling in numbers that are unrealistic. But once again, I don't feel that you're providing me with a fair opportunity here. I'm not sure
Well,
where
this is the thing, Brian. You were provided with a fair opportunity last year and you lost.
I did lose, correct.
So ergo, you have now really given that up. Because you also wanted to wager the 1% last year. Everything you are sitting in right now is all the result of your own devices. All the result
I'm
of your
currently
own
sitting in
choices.
my own waste.
Exactly.
I needed to get up about 12 minutes ago. I felt some stomach rumblings, and instead I decided to do this podcast, see it through, and currently sitting in my own excrement. By the way, Ron, a couple people have commented. Yes, I am wearing my Ron lapel pin.
When did you slip that on? I didn't notice that earlier.
I just leaned down at one point and put it on. These are on their third printing, people. If you are a Patreon, hold on, can you see this up close? Look at that pen. Look at that. Is that not a beautiful thing? As Lefty from Mulberry Street would say, now that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. If you're interested, please reach out. They will. They can be delivered in person. They can be delivered by mail. Whatever works. But we are selling these for $24.99, limited edition.
All right, so we'll get back to everybody as to what the Super Bowl bet ends up being and confirm the time for next week. I assume it'll be 8 o'clock on Monday night, would be my guess.
Sure.
But let's get into our favorite stories of the week. Unfortunately, still don't have a kicker for it. Matt was going to do it after the jetpack flight. Obviously, that did not come to be because of his minor injury. But Brian, what was your favorite story of the week?
My favorite story of the week takes us all the way down to the great state of Alabama. Listen, people, I love the South. I love the American South. I love everything it represents. And what does it represent, you may ask? Basically, the complete fucktards of the country. Basically, if anything can happen,
it's going to happen in Alabama.
Absolutely. So we go to Alabama, where the mobile Alabama Police Department brings this to us. According to their story, a shocked customer at an Alabama gas station found a human penis in the parking lot. The dismembered member, good copy editing by the New York Post as always, the dismembered member was found shortly after 6 a.m. in the morning at a gas station on Interstate 10 in Mobile, Alabama, which was cited multiple sources. So this is not just one crazy person saying, hey, I found a penis. The police department said that the outlet that it was a shocking discovery. However, they're not being investigated as an assault or a murder. The police department believe that their working assumption here is that the loose penis was likely tied to a deadly crash of a motorcyclist that same morning. Christopher Means, 29, was pronounced dead at the scene after losing control and being struck by multiple vehicles, police said, noting how only one driver remained at the scene. So there's just so much going on in this story. First,
there's a lot there.
You've just got a loose penis floating around. You've got the police department not coming out and saying it's definitely this guy's penis, but automatically saying, hey, this is not a murder. This is not an assault. We kind of have an idea. Then you work into a motorcyclist who gets into an accident, is driven over by multiple cars, and then they leave in there the little notion that of all the cars, the multiple vehicles that struck this motorcyclist, killing him, only one was nice enough to stop and see if he was okay and then stick around for the police to show up. Cheers to you, Alabama. Once again, you have outdone yourself.
Not a great cleanup at the scene, I guess.
No, and the idea is they cleaned up the body, but just realized, hey, we don't know where his penis is. Oh, don't worry about it. Let's just go. Somebody will call it in at a later time. Ron.
Yes.
What's your favorite story of the week?
So mine, we're going out to Germany, Brian. We're going overseas. We're going international this week.
Rammstein.
To the southern city of Ingolstadt, about 50 miles north of Munich, where a family dispute, a missing woman, and a body that had been stabbed to death found in the woman's car by her parents has turned out to be something quite unexpected. Far from being the victim, the woman who had been missing and presumed dead actually found a look-alike on Instagram and killed that woman with the help of a friend in order to stage her own death and start a new life. The case has been dubbed the doppelgänger murder by local media. Arrest warrants on suspicion of murder have now been issued for the woman and her friend. The pair have been in custody since a few days after the body was discovered. The woman apparently planned to start a new life due to family problems. However, even though the person they killed may have looked like the woman, when the autopsy apparently raised serious doubts as to the identity of the woman. Unfortunately, they do not release any names or photos as per German law, so we're unable to see how exactly similar this person looked to them. But police said they look strikingly similar.
Really?
Yes.
That's interesting. I mean, this is not, you would, listen, the Germans have a very bad reputation when you're looking at, history or whatnot. But this seems like a story that would come out of Long Island, not Germany.
That's very true. I think you have something there. More importantly, Brian, I know that was your favorite story of the week, but even more important this week.
Sure.
What are you watching?
Oh, geez, where to start? Okay, so last time we did What Are You Watching? I was in the middle of White Lotus season 2.
Correct.
I have subsequently completed that. Really enjoyed it. I don't like any of the characters in the season. I just felt that, for 7-8 hours, it had my attention and it kept me intrigued.
All right.
I also watched on Netflix The Hatchet-Wielding Hitchhiker.
That was an interesting documentary.
I did not find it interesting.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't think that there was enough of a story for the hour and a half that the documentary was dragged out for.
Okay.
It is the story of a homeless nomad who is basically, for lack of a better phrase, a stoner. I would describe him as a modern Cheech and Chong, if you would, minus the ethnicity and the sense of humor.
Sure.
Anywho, but he is involved in a car accident, I believe. He comes across a car accident, takes out a hatchet that he is carrying with himself, whacks some guy a couple times, becomes a news hero for the day that he saves some woman who's being attacked. Gets his 15 minutes of fame, appears on the Jimmy Kimmel show, and then next thing you know, he's in New Jersey killing some guy who he says raped him.
Right.
And now he's in jail for the next 50 years. Ooh, sorry. Spoiler alert. I just didn't think it was an interesting story.
Okay.
You liked it, though.
It was interesting. I mean, I thought it was interesting. I didn't think it was great, but it was interesting.
Okay. What I did watch, and this is something that I highly recommend, was on HBO Max, Low Country, The Murdaugh Dynasty, which tells the story of South Carolina lawyer Alex Murdaugh, whose son and wife are shot to death on his property. He is subsequently arrested for that murder. He is immediately also charged, I believe, with 80 financial crimes, of which he's admitted to stealing $4 million from a family that he was representing. And just absolutely wild. I think it's a 3 hour, 1 hour. It's 3 1-hour episodes. Just a fascinating story of this. What happens when you have unchecked power in a small town. This family basically was running the town, for lack of a better phrase. They were defense attorneys, while at the same time were basically running the local prosecutor's office, so they could pick and choose who was going to be tried for crimes and whatnot. just absolutely fascinating to watch a guy go from literally having a limitless power to now being in jail on trial for murdering his wife and son. Wild. And then I also watched The Menu. I
Yes.
believe that's also on either Netflix or it might have been HBO, but
That's
I
on
think
HBO
Netflix.
Max, actually.
That's on HBO Max. If you can explain to me The Menu, because starring Ray Fiennes
Right.
and the girl with the oddly opposable eyes, they are
Okay.
incredibly far apart on her face. I don't know. I think she was in Queen's Gambit.
She was, yes.
Also starring John Leguizamo, Judith
Judith
Knight,
Light was in it.
Judith Light, and there were a couple other people that I don't really know. Tells the story of a bunch of foodies who are going to a elaborate meal that costs lots of money, and then things go in a direction they don't really plan on. It's
Just so everyone knows before they start to comment, yes, I did remind Brian that he slept through my review of The Menu a few weeks prior.
I normally don't listen to you. I'm usually looking for more stories for us to discuss.
No,
while
I get
you're
it.
rambling.
I get it.
But did you enjoy? You said you enjoyed The Menu.
I liked it. I thought it was a good movie. Yes, it was interesting.
Can you explain to me why they made it? Like, what was the whole purpose of it?
I mean, I think I think it was. Why did they make it? Why did they make any movie, Brian? I mean, it was an interesting story. The concept of, you look at celebrity chefs taken to the level of basically almost forming a cult and having a group of people that were willing to die with him, while also, sacrificing a group of people that they feel have destroyed their art because of how snooty they are over the meals that they eat.
Question, spoiler
Yes.
alert. Does she get away in the end?
I thought you watched the whole movie.
I did watch it, and I read a couple reviews or analysis of it that say that the hamburger at the end was poisoned.
I've seen that. I think she.
I didn't get that in.
Yeah, I think
I assume she got away with it.
Yeah,
interesting. I feel like there's something. Oh, I also tried to watch the Jonah Hill Eddie Murphy movie.
How was that? I had a feeling you saw the best parts in the previews.
I made it through about 17 minutes of it and turned it off. Not only did I not find it funny, but I didn't like the way it was edited or cut. It felt like a MTV movie, or it felt like a Real World.
Gotcha.
The way it was edited, I just found it highly annoying, so I walked away from it.
All right. I had a feeling. I was looking at it. I'm like, this looks like one of those movies where, the 2 minutes of like funny jokes you see in the previews are about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And an all-star cast. I mean, Jonah Hill, Eddie Murphy, David Duchovny. I think Julie Louis-Dreyfus is in there. Like, just, a heavy hitter lineup, but just poor material.
Very bad.
Yes.
Ron,
yes.
What are you watching?
So continuing to watch season 2 of Your Honor. I think it's 4 episodes in right now. It's slow, Brian. I need something to happen. I need, it's not as good as the first season. It's decent. I like the first couple episodes. The story is kind of ground to a halt almost. So I will stick with it, and hopefully it picks up the pace a little bit. Started watching. I think I continue to watch Poker Face with Natasha Lyonne on Peacock.
Poker Face, Poker Face.
Enjoying that. I think the 5th episode just came out, so I need to catch up on that. I also watched the Low Country Murdoch Dynasty, and second, there is a string of deaths in that family's history.
Sure.
I mean, when it almost, you have to almost suspend belief. If it was a movie, you wouldn't believe it. But it's just crazy. And listen, we're right in the middle of his trial now, so I'm sure there probably will be there'll probably be a season 2 of it once this court case shakes out. And also continuing to watch The Last of Us on HBO Max. Episode 3 last week, kind of blew up the internet. A lot of people commenting on it. I would say it's a touching story and probably one of the best hours of television I've seen in a long time.
Really?
Yes. I would say, even if you're not, what's that?
That's on HBO?
HBO Max. Even if you're not into the storyline, even if you're not interested, you don't even really need to watch the first couple of episodes. I feel episode 3 stands alone as just, a great episode, great acting. Nick Offerman is in the episode. And then the guy from the first season of White Lotus, the hotel manager that ends up pooping in the guy's
No way,
suitcase.
he's in that?
Yeah. But just a great hour of television.
I'm going to check that out.
And I think that's all I watched this week. I really didn't watch too much. I was really I was diving into numbers and statistics and getting ready to make the ever important Super Bowl bet.
The more this episode has gone on, the more I feel that we need to honor your original pick of the Eagles -1.5. And I will, as much as I disagree with it, I will respect that you are 51% owner.
Okay.
And if that's the bet that you've decided you want to make, then that's the hill we will walk up.
Is here!
Sorry. Did you say something about this going to my head?
I think it has gone to your head.
Brian, we need to update the George Santos situation. Last week, you gave me a quiz to find out how well I knew George Santos. A lot of information came out in that episode. And as often happens, Ron and Brian are kingmakers and king slayers. What happened to George a couple days after our episode broadcast last Sunday?
Well, I listen, I'm not going to take, the pat on the back the media has basically thrown in our direction. George Santos, I would say within 36 hours of our episode streaming, announced that he was stepping down from the 2 congressional committees that he had been appointed to. I don't want to say that they were kind of shitty third-rate committees, but they were shitty third-rate type of committees in Congress. And the heat has continued to build, leading towards his resignation. Stories coming out this week, a staffer that had been working on the promise that a paid job would follow, basically resigned their unpaid internship when they realized that they had been lied to, and also dropped an allegation of sexual harassment by Representative George Santos. Obviously, this is alleged allegations. Nothing's been proven in a court of law, as well as suddenly there is a lot of smoke being pointed at Santos for campaign finance violations. A unnatural number of $199.99 expenses have been submitted for reimbursement to I don't know whether it's the SEC or whatnot. Ironically, anything $200 or more requires a backing receipt.
Right.
However, he seems to have a gross number of $199.99 expense reports that he is just basically clocking money out of Congress, and we'll see what happens. Just we're doing our part in keeping the heat on him.
Now, last week, I believe you had made the comment that it should really come down to the thoughts of his constituents and how they felt if he should remain in his position or not. So Newsday and Santa College did just that. They They took a poll of 653 registered voters in his district, and asked if they felt whether he should or should not resign. They asked both the Democrats and Republicans. A total of 78% of those asked the question felt he should resign. 89% Democrats, 71% Republicans. Asked if he can or can't be effective representative for the people of his district. 75% said they can't be effective. 84% Democrat, 65% Republican. 71% said McCarthy was wrong to seat him on any congressional committee. 74% of Republicans say he does not reflect the values of the party.
Sure.
And also, they asked the people that voted for George Santos, would you have voted for him if you knew now what you knew then? 63% of those that had voted for him said no. But what is interesting, the one question that's very interesting out of all these that they asked him, and let me see if I can find it. So they said, so this was the question. Public figures, including politicians, have at times lied about their life story or experiences. When those lies are exposed, do you think those public figures should admit wrongdoing or say that the lie was really no big thing? 93% of those asked said that the politicians should admit wrongdoing, yet they don't hold their own candidates to that standard. And I think we've seen that.
Sure.
That people are able to, politicians are able to lie, and Democrats, Republicans just kind of look the other way if their candidate's winning. But overall, these statistics not great for George Santos.
No, they're not great for George Santos. But I think one of the things that you're seeing now is just literally just a quickened slide towards the bottom in terms of behavior by politicians.
And we got about 10, 15 minutes left. We got stuff to get to still. And of course, as we do every week when we have a lot of these, it is time to review celebrity obituaries for the past week, Brian. A lot of people leaving us this past week. Up first, the father of Peeps, Marshmallow Candies, Bob Bourne, passing away at the age of 98. Brian, fan of Peeps or no?
No.
Really?
They're disgusting.
Really?
These are disgusting. Yes.
All right.
Why do I feel like we spoke about this?
It's very possible. We covered a lot of topics over the last 243 episodes. But I like a Peep every now and then.
Then why don't you just eat a marshmallow?
Maybe I will.
I just feel like it's a stale marshmallow.
With,
I feel like this
with a little
man
bit more
shit
sugar on
Peeps.
it.
This man shit yellow Peeps, and then he was like, "Ugh, how can I feed this to young little children? Yeah, eat my feces."
Oh, all right. Rest in peace, sir. I'm sorry for Brian's behavior. Next up, Pakistan ex-president Pervez Musharraf passing away in Dubai after years in exile. You were a big fan, Brian. You liked his leading of the country back in the mid 2000s until he was pushed from power. Had you been in touch with him prior to his passing?
Yes, we had. Back in 2001, after 9/11, the world immediately looked to Pakistan. Everybody was wildly aware that the Taliban were an agent in action of the Pakistani government. Taliban would not have existed were it not for the support from the Pakistani military. We all know that. The world looked to Pakistan to say, how are you going to ensure that the world is safe? We found an ally in Pervez. He and I were on first name basis. He would call me Brian. I would call him Pervez. One of the things recently I'd reached out to him, he had told me he wasn't feeling well. I said, listen, are you wearing a lapel pin? And he said, yes, I always wear my lapel pin on the left side. It is a flag. I said, yes, but are you wearing your Ron coffee mug in a hotel lobby lapel pin? And he said, no, I'm not wearing that. And I said, listen, for your own health, I'm going to put one in the mail for you. Sadly, it is sitting in a envelope at my desk at work. It never made it out there. Unfortunately, Pervez never around for his good luck charm lapel pin.
So you must have had this conversation about 3 weeks ago, because I know that's typically how long it takes you to. I get it.
Yeah. We spoke actually. I think it was actually 26 days ago. I was like, Perfy, what are you doing? And he was like, not so good.
Right.
I was like, do you still have your mustache? Is your mustache still in shape? And he was just like, yes, mustache is good.
Well, let's move on to the next obituary, Brian. I'm sure everyone's loving your
Please send me my Ron lapel pin for my health. I need my Ron lapel pin.
This time's gotta stop.
All right, passing away also this week, Lisa Loring, who played the original Wednesday Addams character on the original Addams Family, passing away at the age of 64. Apparently, she had suffered a massive stroke brought on by smoking and high blood pressure, had been on life support for 3 days, and then was taken off of life support after suffering yet another stroke in the hospital, passing away overnight.
She was one of my favorite actresses that played Wednesday Adams, but apparently Janelle feels that she was a bad actress. Wow, harsh crowd, harsh comments in the chat this week.
All right. Next up from the world of sports, Bobby Hull, controversial Blackhawks player and Hall of Famer, passing away at the age of 84. He is the Blackhawks' all-time leading goal scorer with 604 career goals. Also the subject of quite a few domestic violence investigations. I think he was married 3 times with 2 of his wives. Claiming that they were abused by him.
That's problematic.
Yes. First wife had dropped charges after she said she didn't want to testify against her husband. His second wife accused him of abuse during an interview with ESPN for a 2002 show. And then a Russian newspaper quoted Hull in 1998 as saying that Adolf Hitler, quote, had some good ideas and that the black population in the U.S. was growing too quickly.
Jeez, I don't remember that being said.
He claimed that he never made those comments, but Joe says yes, agreed. Wow.
Well, apparently Joe is agreeing with Bobby Hull. Very, it's a hot take, I guess. People really stepping out on a limb here.
As many people out there know, we are big wrestling aficionados here. Saying goodbye this week to the genius, Lanny Poffo. Ex-WWE star, brother of Randy Savage, passing away at the age of 68. Don't believe that a cause of death has been revealed as of yet. Brian, your favorite... No, I'm not going to ask what your favorite Lanny Poffo memory was.
Oh, I don't really have many. I remember him reading a poem
he was
of every
a poet
wrestling
too.
match. I remember that I did not know that he was... Randy Savage's brother.
Yep.
While he was wrestling, I think I learned that maybe about 10 years ago. I think my favorite memory of him was when he was inducting his brother into the WWE Hall of Fame, and he was giving his speech, and he said that the moment he knew that he and his brother were going to be professional wrestlers was the day that they both agreed that they were going to wear their Ron Hotel coffee mug lapel pin as they walked in and out of every arena, that they were going to look professional, even regardless of how they behaved in the ring. And they were always going to be wearing their Ron Hotel coffee mug lapel pin, available in our online shop. Third
I will say this, Brian, to get back to Lanny Poffo. He was the first wrestler that I actually met in person many, many years ago.
Can you walk me through how you went about meeting him?
So I was attending a wrestling card at the Glens Falls Civic Center in Glens Falls, New York.
Sure.
And he was one of the guys that was wrestling that day. And I managed to get to go backstage. I forget why or how, and he was standing back there. And I just remember, like, when you would see him on TV, he looked like a very average sized guy in comparison to the other guys he was wrestling with. Me, as like a 13-year-old kid, the guy was freaking huge. He had to be like 6'4", 280, 260.
Sure.
So it was just very interesting to see how big these guys were in person.
Yeah, I can imagine. Did you interact with him much, or
just he was a nice guy. He said I was a fan, and he was thanked me for coming, and just seemed like a very soft-spoken, nice individual.
Well, rest in power.
Next up, Brian, I know you are not a fan of the movie A Christmas Story. Hopefully,
I'm not.
You can show some sympathy to Melinda Dillon. She was the mom in Christmas Story, passing away last month, actually, at the age of 83. Also starred in movies Close Encounters of the Third Kind and Absence of Malice.
I am a huge fan of Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yes, great
Richard Dreyfuss. She played a just a great character in that movie. Her child gets kidnapped very early on. No, the child gets kidnapped at the end of the movie, but she sees her husband slowly slipping away into a delusional state, playing with his mashed potatoes.
She was also in Fist in 1978 with Sylvester Stallone.
Did you say Fist?
Fist.
F-I-S-T.
F-I-S-T.
See, I saw a movie called Fist when I was 25. It was the story of a young man who grew up in a...
This time's gotta stop!
We're just going to do that preemptively, just to get us out of this. And lastly, passing away this week, Laverne and Shirley star Cindy Williams, passing away at the age of 75.
This one was sad because first off, I had forgotten about her completely, so I didn't even know she was alive. Second of all, I grew up watching that show.
Yeah.
So many episodes, so many memories from Laverne and Shirley. Two girls working together in a blue collar environment, working at a local beer bottling factory in Milwaukee, I guess it was. It was a spinoff of Happy Days, if I'm not correct.
Correct, yes.
And also introduced the world to Lenny and Squiggy.
Yep.
And I remember Michael McKean.
Michael McKean was Lenny, and I forget who played Squiggy.
We're not sure, but Squiggy's no longer with us.
Don't forget the Big Ragu.
The Big Ragu. Yeah, I just enjoyed it. It was a good movie. I felt like it was
She was also in American Graffiti. Don't forget that.
Oh, I love that movie, even though I didn't understand it.
And a little trivia, Brian. She also auditioned for the role of Princess Leia in Star Wars.
I'm glad she didn't get it.
Okay.
Carrie Fisher was such a strong Princess Leia.
Sure. Oh, there we go. David Lander was Squiggy.
Yes.
Thank you, William Esquire.
Yes, I always felt that this was that Laverne and Shirley was a modern day Odd Couple for women, where you had the Oscar and Felix dynamic on the Odd Couple,
right?
But this was the Laverne and Shirley one was the neat well behaved one, and Laverne was kind of the a little gruffier one. Oh, nice to see Joe agrees with me on that one. But it was all good. I really enjoyed that show. Completely forgot about her. Wish I had her on the death pool. Do you have an update? A lot of people died. No points were scored this week.
No points were scored this past week. So we still have a 4-way tie at the top of the leaderboard. 4 people tied with 19 points.
But you know who is going to be scoring a lot of points. That will be the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 317 this coming Sunday in what is it? Where is it? In Arizona.
Yes.
Just outside of Phoenix, I believe it is, a small town called Fist, Arizona. where
Going back to news before Brian can talk about fists again. A South Carolina grandmother was arrested for allegedly helping her grandson cover up a murder. I mean, listen,
that's family.
They say that family unit is broken in this country. I disagree, because Edna Faye Daniels here, age 78, she was taken into custody on January 27th based on evidence that she concealed evidence related to a homicide committed in her home. Wow.
Whoa.
Her grandson, Ryan O'Neill Woodruff, was arrested 2 days earlier for the shooting death of Tyquez Demetrius Walker. And he was, at the time, out on bond for a 2021 double murder. Fantastic. After he was detained at the scene, she apparently made several false statements to investigators.
Well, listen, you have to respect her. She's a real one. She basically, listen, her grandson committed a murder in her house, said, "Granny, you got to help me clean this up." She did. And when the cops came by to be like, "Hey, what's going on here?" She told them to fuck off. And, she didn't snitch, didn't rat. And you got to give her credit. She's going to go down. They're going to, she's going to have to do a bid. But, that's what film, you always want to know that family has your back.
That's right. Snitches get stitches. This grandma doesn't go that way. Also in crime news, an aeronautics professor at Purdue University was arrested for allegedly dealing methamphetamines and propositioning women for sex in exchange for money. This seems like a really bad reboot of Breaking Bad, but it involves Sergei Masharet, age 65.
He's good. He's good. I got a C in his class.
Yeah, you were an aeronautics student?
I monitored the class. I wasn't actually a matriculated student.
Gotcha. So he was charged with dealing meth, possession of meth, and making an unlawful proposition, which Indiana law is defined as offering to pay someone for sexual intercourse or acts. He had been a professor of aeronautics and astronautical engineering at Purdue since 2014. However, the university says that he has since been placed on leave.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just natural if you're dealing meth and trying to proposition women. I don't know how you can be a professor for that long and just all of a sudden decide to start dealing meth. I picture like when you lose the title belt for yet another year, I see you spiraling downwards into meth and opioids. That's the path I think you take. And honestly, I don't think
that's going to happen.
I think if you win, I see you spiraling down into opioids and meth as well. So I think
if I win, yes, there will be a how do I say this politely? I am definitely going to go all out.
Okay. I'm as much as I don't want to lose the 6 pounds of gold here behind me, I'm excited to see exactly what would happen with it in your hands.
It's going to be fun. We will find out in 1 week. You know who will not be finding out?
Who is that?
Murphy Brown star Charles Kimbrough.
What?
Who died today. Actually, it was announced today that he passed away on January 11th. He played anchorman Jim Dial on Murphy Brown for 10 years. Died at the age of 86. 14 wasted points. He'll never know who's going to be the 2023 Ron and Brian podcast 51% owner after Super Bowl 418.
Brian, anything else you want to talk about before we wrap this up and get ready for After Dark?
No, the next time you and I do a podcast together, we will know who will win the Super Bowl. We know who will win the Ron and Brian podcast, 51% ownership. Ron, in the spirit of great sportsmanship, I want to wish you the best of luck.
Brian, I want to wish you the best of luck as well. You are in my thoughts. You are in my prayers as always. I hope that whatever the result, win or lose next week, it does not come between us. It does not break up this friendship and this love that we have for one another.
Okay. Well, I believe it already has.
Yeah, very possibly.
I mean, no offense, but you keep texting me "fucking loser" at 6 o'clock in the morning before I wake up.
Well, I keep telling you, I keep meaning to text that to the person below you, and I keep hitting the wrong text chain. And so I apologize for that. I'll try and be more careful moving forward.
Feels like you're sending it to me.
Anyway, if you are not a Patreon subscriber, why not? I mean, that's something you can correct pretty easily by going to ronandbrianpodcast.com, clicking in the upper left-hand corner to become a patron. Join at the $10 a month or higher level, and you get to join us after dark, which is going to start in about 20 minutes here, for those stories that are a little bit too saucy for the main podcast. Last week, we had our monthly pajama party. We had our first ever Can You Beat Brian? Which was won by our very own William Esquire, knocking off Brian by just one question. So we've got a lot of fun. Not that the main podcast isn't a lot of fun, but don't you want to finish off your Sunday night in the best way possible by having 30 more minutes of Ron and Brian? Well, you can by becoming a Patreon subscriber.
Please do it, people. You will. You're not aware of what you're missing out.
There you go. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. We're going to go get ready for that very same After Dark. Brian, again, good luck to you next Sunday night. And we will catch everybody next Monday night.
Thank you for joining us on the Ron and Brian podcast. We're live each week on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find prior episodes, links to our social media, and everything else Ron and Brian at ronandbrianpodcast.com. See you again next week.